Hello, in this video we are going to go over our object selection tool with this tool. This is more of a smart tool that's been created within Photoshop. To use this tool, before we start working on our Photoshop image of the week, let me go back here and show you. Before we use that tool on this one, we're going to use it on this image right here that we have. This image is one that I supplied for you. This is a cherry.jpg. And the tool that we want to use is the Object Selection Tool, which is this one right here. You see it's W, you can press W or Shift W until you get this tool right here. Now the way that this tool works, let me go ahead and just reset these settings. By default it's set to rectangle. And with this tool, this one has a white background, so it's going to work really great. I'm going to make a selection around the object that I want selected. Once you let go of the mouse button, presto, there it is. It makes a really nice selection around this object. Now if you notice that this is a selection tool, meaning that we could always switch to one of our other selection tools to further refine it. But right now it has made this selection. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, and I'm going to go to Edit, Paste. And now what I have on a new layer, I'm going to hide my background image. It copies the contents of that layer, whatever was selected, in this case is cherry, and now I have this. One of the things that you can do at this point, since we copied this exact pixels, this works really well because I had that white background. I was able to detect the difference. I'm going to switch to the Move tool as long as we have the Show Transform controls turned on. This creates this little bounding box around it, and with this we're able to scale. In this newer version of Photoshop, now it scales proportionally, but if you want to break that proportion, hold down Shift, and now you're able to squash it, make it tall and thin. Once you let go of Shift, it continues to scale proportionally. You can also move your cursor just to the outside, and you can see you get this 1/4 type circle cursor. I'm able to rotate this now around. Now once you make an adjustment up in the option bar, you either have to apply it or you could cancel. I'm going to click on this check mark, and now I was able to scale it. So there's the one before and after. This tool works really great whenever you have an image such as this one. But what happens when you have something like this? Right here I already have my image. I've changed it to original image. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in. What if I want to select this a UFO? Let's go back to my tool here, the Object Selection Tool. Instead of selecting rectangle, you could also tell it to use a lasso. So similar to our lasso tool, this is more like a freeform selection tool. So I'm making a selection specifically around this object, and once I let go, I now have this really decent selection. Now if you notice a couple of things, what it did not do. It did not add the dome. It did not add the bottom area right here. This is a smart tool in that it is evaluating your image to make the best possible selection. Whereas on this image of the cherry, it has a really nice monotone background white, which creates really great contrast. But looking at my image here, the contrast between the sky and the dome, it's really similar. So it was really hard to add this portion. But what we could do, since it is a tool, a selection tool, what if I click here? What if I tell Photoshop to, hey, why don't you re-examine this portion? Why don't you re-examine this area as well? So now it's making that readjustment. Okay, I didn't want to do it there. What you could also do is you could always select, here, let's try to add this one right here. You could always go back to your regular selection tools. I'm going to go to Lasso Tool and say, what if I'm going to tell it to add to my selection this part of the tail fin that was missing. So now I'm manually editing my selection to incorporate more pixels. But there are other tools that are also available that allow me to make further adjustments. What I want to do at this one, I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of my original image so that I don't make any adjustments to this one. I'm going to hide the layer. And now that I have this selection, if I want to go in, I could still, say for example, add a couple more of these pixels there. And with any selection, we're able to add the selection to this layer as a layer mask. I'm going to click on this button down here in the bottom right hand corner of the layers panel, this right here, click, and you can see that it's adding that selection as a mask. And if I bring back my layer here, I'm going to switch to my move tool. I'm going to make sure that I have this layer selected. And right now, both my original image and my image up on top, they're lining up. But if I use my move tool and move this, notice how we have this big bounding box. That's because I still have my entire image still intact. So what we're going to do, we are going to go over more tools that are going to help us to make even further refinements of our selections. So we'll do that in the next video.